Here's a question that sounds kind of impossible. How can you earn a massive salary and still be completely, totally broke? Well, it's a financial paradox that trips up millions of people. Okay, let's really dive into this. So let me introduce you to Marcus and Dana. They're the same age, live in the same city. Marcus, he's a software engineer pulling in $155,000 a year. Nice, right? And Dana, she's a marketing coordinator making $72,000. Now get this. Look at their net worth. Marcus is actually in debt, while Dana is sitting on a cool 167 grand. He is constantly stressed about money. She hasn't lost a single night's sleep over it in years. So that's the big question, isn't it? How on earth is that even possible? I'll tell you right now, this isn't an income problem. It is a systems problem. See, the huge gap between them has absolutely nothing to do with their salaries and everything to do with a handful of simple rules that Dana follows and Marcus has never even heard of. All right, let's start with the first set of rules. These are all about the psychological traps, these invisible money drains that quietly empty your bank account before you even realize what's happening. You'd think a high income is a safety net, right? Well, think again. Data from Lending Club and Bloomberg is pretty shocking. 1 in 3 households earning over $250,000 a year are still living paycheck to paycheck. This isn't about math, it's about mindset. And that brings us to rule number 1. You have to define your enough number. Without a specific target for what you actually need to live comfortably, your spending will just keep expanding to meet your income, no matter how big that income gets. Rule number 2 is all about seeing the invisible cost of your spending. Every single dollar you spend has what I call a second price tag. It's future value if you just invested it instead. You know, that $50 DoorDash habit a few times a week? It feels pretty small in the moment, but that adds up to about $600 a month. You invest that over 30 years? That's over $700,000. That's the second price tag of not cooking. The point isn't to never order out. It's to make these choices consciously, knowing the real cost. And this leads us to Rule 3, the identity audit. Just look at some of your recent non-essential purchases and ask yourself this one simple question. You would be amazed how much of our spending is really just a performance for other people. Research for the book The Millionaire Next Door found that a staggering 86% of luxury car owners are not millionaires. That fancy car, it's way more likely to be a signal of debt than a signal of wealth. You might be spending money to impress an audience that's honestly too busy trying to impress you to even notice. Oh, and this one is so common. It perfectly illustrates Rule 4, beware the Diderot effect. See, one new purchase triggers this whole cascade of new spending. You buy a new couch, and suddenly, whoa, the old rug looks terrible. So you replace the rug, but now the coffee table doesn't match. Before you know it, you spent thousands of dollars all because of that one little justified upgrade. It's how a single purchase can quietly spiral completely out of control. So if our minds can kind of work against us, how do we fight back? Well, this next section is all about building practical systems, firewalls that protect your money from your own worst impulses. The idea is to take willpower right out of the equation. This is Rule 5, the 72-hour firewall, and it is a game changer because it requires zero willpower. See, impulse purchases thrive on that feeling of immediacy. By creating a mandatory 72-hour waiting period, you let that initial dopamine hit just fade away. And studies show the desire for about 60% of impulse buys literally evaporates during that time. It's a super simple system that completely defeats the manufactured urgency of that buy now button. Next up is Rule 6, the replacement test. Before you upgrade something that still works perfectly fine, like your phone, it has to pass one of these 3 tests. Most of the time, let's be honest, we're not really replacing things, we're upgrading them. We're paying a huge premium just for that fleeting feeling of newness. And it's one of the sneakiest ways our wealth gets drained away. Okay, this data right here is a real eye-opener. On average, people think they spend about $86 a month on subscriptions. The reality? It's closer to $219. We're paying for things we've mentally canceled months or even years ago. This leads to Rule 7, the nuclear subscription purge. Don't just review your subscriptions, cancel everything. I mean it. Then only resubscribe to the services you genuinely miss over the next week or 2. All the rest? It was just financial noise. Okay, so far we've basically been on defense. Now it's time to go on offense. This next set of rules is all about making wealth creation the automatic, default option in your financial life. First, we have to understand this invisible force that just devours raises. Rule number 8 is to understand hedonic adaptation. It's the reason why a pay bump feels amazing for about a month, and then your new lifestyle just becomes normal. The restaurant that used to be a special occasion is now just Tuesday. This is the engine of lifestyle creep. So how do you beat it? With Rule 9, the anti-lifestyle creep protocol. Anytime you get a raise, you automatically invest 75% of it before it even has a chance to hit your main account. You capture the wealth before that new normal feeling does.
Now for Rule 10, and this is a reframe that can permanently change your relationship with spending. Start seeing money as traded time. Go ahead and calculate your real after-tax hourly wage. Suddenly that $700 phone isn't just a number anymore. It's 28 hours of your finite, irreplaceable life. And the question changes from, can I afford this, to, is this worth a week of my life? That's a very different question. You know those super complex budgets with like 30 different tabs? Forget them. Rule 11 says you only need to track one single number, your savings rate. It's just your total savings and investments divided by your gross income. That's it. This single metric tells you everything you need to know. If it's going up, you're winning. Your target? Aim for a bare minimum of 20%. That 1% represents your entire financial future. And that brings us to our final and, honestly, the most important rule. This is the one that ties all the others together and really defines the whole goal of financial health.
And this is Rule 12. Calculate and grow your freedom horizon. It's a simple question. How long could you survive with zero income? For Marcus, despite his huge salary, the answer is 11 days. For Dana, it's 6 months. You see, her older car and her smaller apartment didn't shrink her life. They expanded her freedom. Every lifestyle upgrade that increases your monthly bills directly shrinks your freedom. And this right here is the ultimate goal. It's not some number in an account. It's not a fancy title on LinkedIn. It is a feeling. It's that quiet peace of mind that comes from just knowing that if something goes wrong, you're going to be okay. It's the absence of that low-grade financial anxiety that just hums in the background of most people's lives. That is the real prize. So we end right back where we started. Marcus, he's probably going to continue on his path, earning a lot of money with absolutely nothing to show for it. Dana, on the other hand, built her stability rule by rule. Their outcomes weren't determined by their income, but by that dozen small, repeatable decisions we just covered. So the only question left is, which path will you choose?